It's only when a child cries out, quote, "The emperor wears no clothes," does the crowd acknowledge that the emperor is in fact naked. Mr. President, much like the emperor, America's elected leaders know we face a fiscal train wreck, but we are choosing to ignore our current economic reality. And I'm here to tell my colleagues and President Obama, the emperor has no clothes, and we are naked in terms of dealing with our deficits and national debt. The irony is that the American people know we are naked, and they are coming to Washington to let us know that we are naked, and so does the rest of the world, and our credibility and our credit today are at risk. I have this, what I refer to as the wheel of misfortune, and this lays out quite clearly what our national debt is today. Now, one of the reasons why I ran for the Senate back in '98 was I wanted to come to Washington and reduce the national debt and balance budgets, which is something I did as mayor of the city of Cleveland and as I did as governor of the state of Ohio. When I came to the Senate in '99, our gross national debt stood at $5.6 trillion, or 61% of the GDP. Today, as you can see from the chart behind me, the gross national debt is nearly $11.8 trillion, and I understand that the President is going to ask us to increase our debt limit to $12 trillion, and quite frankly, I believe it'll be more. President Obama and this Congress are fully aware of this reckless fiscal pact, yet they continue to spend and borrow, spend and borrow. Our federal government is the worst credit card abuser in the world. We talk to our kids about not abusing their credit cards. What kind of example do we set? And you know what? We're putting the tab on the credit of our children and grandchildren. The current health care debate in Congress, I think, is a perfect example of why a piecemeal approach doesn't work. If we dealt with the fiscal crisis, it would be a lot easier for us to deal with health care. There's a new poll out just today, AP, said half Americans are more concerned about tackling our debt than our health care reform, education, and climate change. You hear that? Over half of them say deal with the fiscal crisis. And the reason why I believe we're having such a darn difficult time dealing with health care and why we're not going to pass any kind of climate change legislation is that the people of this country know we have a fiscal crisis, and they want us to contend with that before we deal with these other issues. I was pleased to hear President Obama echo this last Wednesday during his joint session of Congress this same sentiment I've just made. He stated, and I quote the President of the United States, folks, "I understand that the politically safe move would be to kick the can further down the road, to defer reform one more year, one more election, one more term, but that is not what the moment calls for. That's not what we came here to do. We did not come here to fear the future. We came here to shape it. I still believe we can act even when it's hard," end of quote. President Obama's words ring true in light of the fiscal challenges we face as a nation today. And they should get the first priority. Until we start on a commission, Congress, the administration, the American people, and the world will know that the emperor has no clothes. We are naked in terms of realizing and dealing with our fiscal crisis. Now is the time to act.